we still have to fix the radiator support. I was hoping to do that over the winter, but you know how it goes. You get busy. So I got the sandblaster all out and ready to go because it's pretty crusty in the corners. I thought I'd clean up around the tank, and a couple corners need some repair on the frame. And then I've got a radiator out of the bus, which everybody was wondering why I put a video of that bus painted like an American flag up. Well, I used the engine in my skidder in my other videos. Take a look at my channel page, you'll see them. That was a 6BT going into a skidder. And it turns out the radiator is the exact same size as the one for this truck, and it was in really good shape. So that radiator needs to get put in the radiator support from this truck, because the radiator from this truck didn't have any fins. It was one of the worst ones I've seen in a while. I think that'll be pretty easy to take care of, especially since the radiators for these trucks that I've been finding are $500 and up, plus shipping, and they're expensive. So I'm going to see if I can make that fit. We'll fiddle around with that a little bit. I got the radiator support frame here. This was in pretty rough shape, and I added some fresh steel to it. It's not a perfect repair job. You can see it was pretty well rusted out. I think I got it pretty stiff there. And I added a brace inside. There's a few fuzzies from the roller I used. I just rolled some direct to metal paint on, try to keep it happy. We did sandblast this. Chased out all the holes we need, and then so that needs to get installed. It's upside down right now. Then I got the surge tank here, which I showed you coating it with the tank liner. So I got that painted up. Came out pretty well. You can see there's my solder's a little bit bulky, but that was just to seal it up roughly so I could put a liner in it. So we're going to see about getting this support in the truck, that surge tank on the support, and see about plumbing in one of our new radiators. radiator support. If you've never used one of these are awesome. So I'm going to tap some holes. It's a tap socket. Can't believe they're not more popular. But you can use it on a ratchet or even on impact here. I'm not fresh tapping, I'm just chasing. A little O-ring in there holds the tap, so man, it makes things easy when you can use a ratchet. Way faster. Anti-seize on all the bolts, of course. Can't have too much anti-seize on everything. But, makes it so you might be able to work on it later. If you live where there's no humidity, it might not matter, but just take a look at this. That haze, that's humidity. Absolutely brutal. This is our power steering reservoir. This mounted back up. Okay. Now I think we're going to put the we put the surge tank on next. Maybe we try the radiator. Just because we'll be able to reach in here easily without the surge tank on. Should make it a little easier to get that upper hose figured out. There are still some side mounts here to put in, but those bolt in along with the hood mounts, and I want to get the radiator put together while I can still stand right here before I put the hood on. Hood's going to be last. But that's pretty good. It's got some cushion, it's supposed to. So this radiator is out of the bus. But everybody's wondering why the heck I drove it into the woods. Drove it into the woods to take the motor out for the skidder. And this needed a radiator. It turned out it would fit. At least it should. So, I thought, why not use it? Alright, so it's not one to stuff in, but it looks like if I take these 6 screws out, I can take the top plate off, and this will go in a lot easier. This would have fit in a lot easier on the ground in the shop, but it would have been a lot heavier to pick up, so. I think it just sheared. Yep. Just sheared. My favorite. Broken bolts. Making life easier. I got it measured. I got to move the holes for this radiator bracket to fit in this radiator bracket. I think everything else is going to work, so we're just going to re-drill this. I thought about it. I could either do it quick and dirty with a self-tapper and just fire this thing in. I think it's going to be a lot nicer to re-drill the bracket on the radiator itself and use the original welded nuts. It'll just be cleaner, so I'm going to do that. This will also put our radiator at the correct height for the shrouds, which I don't think is super critical on here, but why not do it right? It's really about the same work as doing it wrong. Should be a lot better. And I got some creeping oil stuff on here. Just use kind of whatever I have. Not lucky enough to have a sponsor on that. Yeah, let's get this re-drilled and we'll bolt it in. I'll get this bolt out of here. Hopefully we can do it easy. Hopefully I don't have to weld the nut onto it. If I do, then we'll just do it, I guess. I mean, the other option would be just to get that welded nut right off there and just use a regular nut and bolt. That'd be pretty easy to snip off with the grinder. I think I can hit the weld here and pop it off if I have to. We'll see if it comes out. Well, let's get this all drilled. I'm just a little trick for when you're trying to drill through the top but not the back and you want to push. I'll use a pair of vice grips on here. You can clamp them on. And all it does is now the vice grip hits and now I got a space. I can push on it and it's not stuck tight. So just a little fabricating tip you can use when it's gonna hit. So for starters, I just measured the top two and I thought I'd put the bolts in loose, make sure everything lines up and looks good, then I can mark and drill the rest of them. And these step bits are awesome for this stuff. I've had, I think this is a cheap one. I've had really nice ones, I've had really cheap ones. They seem to last pretty well, and man do they go through thin metal awesome. Because you see you're just drilling a little hole and then bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So, something I love for this sort of stuff. You can also, on a project like this, if I got different bolt hole sizes, depending on which step you go through, you get a different size hole, and it actually gives you a little bit of a, you can deburr your hole by barely starting the next step. It cuts a little chamfer on it. It's pretty nice. Like a little metal splinter. Okay, we're gonna have to trim the top of this frame to get those bolts open again. But our height looks good. See, everything's lining up. Two sides. Try this bolt again. If this doesn't go, I'm just going to cut it off and we'll put a nut and bolt on it as opposed to using the fixed nut. That does not want to go anywhere. A few whacks, sometimes they break off. If not, then we'll hit the grinder. I actually need that precise spot because that bar brace bolts through it, so I can't just move it by a few inches. Believe it or not, I'll be excited to have this thing move. It's been sitting here for a while now. Yeah, other exciting news. One of the little breaks in the action here, I got a UPS delivery. Master Mechanic Copper notified me that the UPS guy was here. We just got the right bearings in for the bulldozer motor, so we can finish that up. I might be excited enough to see if I can get coolant in this thing before dark and then do that this evening, because man, am I excited. It might be a good day. That happened, and I got a call. Someone wants to buy a motor that I've been sitting on for a year and a half now, so if I could sell a DT466E electronic model, get that out of the way, get that motor in the shop put together and done, get this thing started, running, tested, then tomorrow I'm going to go down and put an IDM in my service truck, because that went out and I was down to 4 injectors, and it doesn't do too well with that welder and a load in the back with 4 cylinders. So I'll see if I can get you some action on that shot too. But this might be a freaking great week. Better come and watch. Subscribe. A little bit of anti-seize on everything, because you have to. Or if you don't, you're going to have a bad time. See, this bar goes across here. That's why we need that exact hole. Look at that, we got a radiator. That was a major improvement. It's starting to come together. Next, I need to go find some hose fittings, because the one downside to this radiator, you can see the old one connected here on the top, but I think this is 2.5, this is 2. I think I can put a 2-inch hose out. If it's the size I think, the 2-inch hose with a 2-inch piece of steel inside it should push this out enough to go onto this tube. On the bottom, 2.5-inch hose, 2-inch nipple, stick a piece of tube on there, that should be good. And this side, I don't need that 1-inch port there, so I think I will stick a little stub of hose on it. I'll just put a little nipple of hose on there with a plug in it and clamp it off, and that will, because the old one had a drain, this doesn't have a drain, that'll make a nice drain. I might even have a barb or something I can put a drain to. But I'll get that stuff hooked up, and then we'll put the surge tank in, which goes here, so that'll be kind of in the way for getting these hoses. And then, yeah, we'll get the surge tank, and then we've got, there was a sensor here. I think that was for the emergency shutdown. It was a 3-wire. I looked all over. International can't figure out what the sensor was. And based on the fact that this motor blew up without being shut down, I don't think it was really working anyway. So that's getting plugged. And then down the side of the head here, that hole is for the temp sender, just a 1-wire. I have another one of those, so we'll put that in. And then there's a couple odd little hoses. This goes to the surge tank, that goes to the surge tank. There's this fitting on the top, goes up to the surge tank. And then there's an overflow hose, I believe. So there's only a few things left. Let me see what I can find for adapting hoses, and we'll go from there.